You are by far the most excruciating, difficult, stubbornly obnoxious woman I've ever met in my entire life. I love you.
I feel like once you know someone is there for you and once you know they love you, you never actually think of them again. It's until you're about to lose someone that you finally pay attention.
All right, that was a clip from the new Netflix movie Malcolm and Marie, catching buzz for the way it really portrays a relationship in a raw, real way, flaws and all.
I've been meaning to watch it. It looks so good. So the pandemic has put a strain on a whole lot of relationships. So our next guest says the key, though, is restructuring your values and expectations. So joining us now with tips on how to do just that is licensed couple psychotherapist Todd Barretts. Todd, good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so from your experience, what are some of the challenges that have really come up within relationships during this pandemic?
Well, we got to be real. Relationships are just fundamentally challenging.
Right.
Challenges are going to come up. We have to expect them. And then you add a pandemic and you take away independence and you take away all of the different structures and terms that informed prior relationships. And you have some major challenges, which is okay. And I like to think about this as creating new relationships. And for some of us, it's with the same person. And for some of us, it's not with that person. And so with any new relationship, it forces people to really turn towards each other and evaluate, negotiate, and collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, you call it relationship education, right? Obviously so important to keep something thriving. Is there like a simple definition here, or it's pretty complex?
Well, it's like any type of other education, whether we're talking about learning how to drive, or we're talking about math, or we're talking about anything, is that we have to learn specific information and then we have to try and practice it. Then we experiment and say, okay, how did this go? Did we like the way this went? And then we go back to our vision board and we draw something new and try it again. So this is when practice on an ongoing basis is really helpful, without perfection being the goal, and being able to honor the imperfections that do arise when we make a mistake.
I like when you said vision board. I never thought of it as a couple's vision board, but that's an interesting thought. On your Instagram, you stated, let go of the fairy tale. There's no such thing as the right person. Explain more how that relates to our understanding of imperfections.
There it is. Yes, we all grow up with some kind of fairy tale idea. And I think right now it's really being reinforced still in mainstream media and a variety of different outlets, even in some psychology. So the thing here is that no relationship is perfect. The idea of a right person or a perfect match is really great marketing, but the reality is that once you get to know somebody, everybody has imperfections. Everybody's limited to some extent. Now, the question is what limitations do you want to deal with and what limitations do you not want to deal with? But everybody is different in terms of what they're willing to tolerate. But the idea is that the right person, this kind of perfection doesn't exist in terms of a relationship.
So, okay, I'm listening very carefully here. Then how do you reshape and your values, and are you saying lower your expectations? Because you don't want to lower your expectations, I think, because then you're not setting what you think you deserve.
Right.
Well, don't have zero expectations. Have some kind of expectations. The baseline expectations about I'd like to be treated with kindness, compassion, empathy, expectations about time spent together, which, as we're seeing, is a little bit difficult for couples that do not live together. So have expectations, but make sure that they're not the ones that include words like always, should, need to be, etc. So it's important to have expectations. But beyond that, collaborating and negotiating the things that we want and desire in the context of a relationships is super important.
But see, that's key. Yeah, and I want to hone in on that. It is super important, but a lot of people, that's where they fail, and that's where these relationships fail. So how do you successfully collaborate and negotiate?
And that's what's interesting, is that's the impact COVID has been having, is that it's really forced people to experiment with collaborating and negotiating, sometimes for the first time in their relationship, which is why I say it's a new relationship. And so when people are starting to figure out how to even collaborate in the first place, it's going to be a bit wonky. You're going to fall, you're going to need to try again. And it's really important that each person approaches each other with kindness and compassion, like I was saying. And that's when the expectations come in handy. But the first part really starts with ourselves, right? So we have to first understand who we are, which is another part of what we're learning in this pandemic, is we're relearning who we are, because we don't have the variety of different things our lifestyle contained before to inform our identity. So first we have to become aware of what it is that we want in the first place from our partner. And then we have to practice communicating some of that.
So what do you say? Do you say, figure out who you are, look in the mirror, figure it out first before you jump into a relationship, or is it something that you work on together?
Oh no, I'm under the impression that it's never a bad time to get into a relationship, whether you know yourself or
Oh, good.
not.
Okay, great.
And actually, when we're in the context of a relationship, we get to know ourselves even more. So there's nothing wrong with not having any self-awareness while being in a relationship. Do it with your partner. There are tons of different online programs. There are books.
Yeah.
There's Google. You can Google.
Google. I often
The
Google, who
Google.
am I? Yeah.
Yeah,
Does it
same.
respond?
No. Usually nobody does.
That's its next step.
Todd, we'll talk to you for
Talk
hours
offline,
about who I
Todd.
am, Thank you for this. Good advice, though. Really,
Yeah,
really good
stuff.
advice.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, Todd. Enjoy the snow.